Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchins.
Whitetail Rendezvous is pleased to announce a partnership with GoHunt.com. Who's GoHunt.com? Well, if you're a DIY hunter
in the western states of the United States,
you need the information at GoHunt.com/insider. Why? Because it provides 4,200 profiles, every unit, every species, and every season. Furthermore, they give in-depth analysis, interactive maps, unit access, and seasonal trends. Draw odds are very important, and they give you the most accurate information in the business. All this is available when you go to GoHunt.com/insider. Make sure you use promo code WR when you join Insider. You'll get a $50 gift card for GoHunt.com Gear Shop. All in all, if you're hunting out west in 2018, GoHunt.com Insider is where you need to be to get all the research information. When you use promo code WR, Whitetail Rendezvous receives a small commission from GoHunt.com. Hey, folks, Bruce Hutchins, and you know who I am, and you know what I do. I'm the host of Whitetail Rendezvous podcast, and we're heading out to Salem, Utah, and Mike Merrill. Mike comes from a very large family, and we're going to talk about the hunting tradition, how it started. But Mike, just with 4th of July coming up tomorrow, I just wanted to say thanks, for being with me this morning, and it's going to be fun talking about, as you coin it, if I can see it, I can get there, or, hunt hard, go further. And that's kind of your motto. Those are your two models. And so let's jump right in right there and talk about Mike Merrill. Why, when he sees a mule deer bedded down X miles away across a couple of drainages, he knows he can get there.
I appreciate it, Bruce. I think the key to that mentality is preparation. And, as we've talked a little bit prior here, last few years I've gotten real serious about my fitness and kind of off-season training, so to speak. And I love the coined phrase, there is no off-season. So I do train year-round, shoot my bow year-round. Even, in 2 feet of snow, I'm up there on the hillside shooting my bow. People look at me cross-eyed and crazy, but, when it comes time for the hunt, there's absolutely no hesitation whatsoever to pick that bow up and sling arrows where I want to. So.
Yeah, you talk about no off-season in the whitetail world. We're hunting whitetails 365 days a year. There's an open season. But all the rest of the time, we're taking care of our herds. Now, you're taking care of your body 365. Why did that start? What made the decision for you to say, I'm going to be able to, not chug up these mountains like I do, but I'm going to be able to bound up these mountains?
Yeah, so actually, it's kind of ironic. A few years ago, it was in 2014, so about 4 years ago, I was with my father-in-law, Stan Goodrich, and we were up American Fork Canyon, and it just kind of come up over the top, up by Sundance Ski Resort, Robert Redford's place up there, and steep mountains and big mountains. And we spotted a nice mule deer buck, probably a 3-year buck. He was actually a 3x3, we call him, with mule deer. And I decided that I'm gonna take this buck. So we hiked up and got just under 400 yards away, and I'm pretty proficient at that range. And so found a rest and a tree to lean up against, and got the right angle. And so we got in where we were ready, and I got my aim, pulled the trigger, and bam, the buck disappeared. And I thought I hit him. I felt like it was a good shot, but I couldn't see him, didn't see him take off anywhere. And so I got a little panicky thinking, oh man, I got to hurry up there. In case I need to get another shot off. So we made a plan. My father-in-law was going to stay down there and keep his glasses on the area the buck was in. And I was going to just hightail it up there as quick as I could get there. And so I went just trucking up that hill as fast as I could. And at the time, I probably weighed close to 250. Now, I'm about 5'11", have kind of, broad shoulders and a stocky build. And, but so I carry the weight okay, but man, I was out of shape and, was not physically fit. And at, 10,000 feet elevation, going that fast, I in air, I just, man, I was exhausted by the time I got up there. Well, sure enough, I got close to where this deer was, and there he laid dead right in his bed. So, I mean, he died within seconds, which was great. I was really happy about that. But the second I saw that deer, it was if somebody flipped a switch, and all my energy was gone. And all of a sudden, I'm feeling lightheaded and almost dizzy. And I felt like almost like I was going to pass out because this adrenaline rush and thin air and no oxygen and not in good cardio shape. My father-in-law is sitting there calling and saying, "Hey, did you get him? Do you see him?" And I couldn't even talk. I mean, I was so exhausted. I said, I'll tell you about it in a second. I got to sit down. And he's kind of laughing a little bit and hoping I'm okay. I mean, I'm sounding like I'm really in rough shape, and I was. So I sat down on a log and I sat there huffing and puffing, and I just actually, buried my head in my hands, kind of slapped myself and said, "This is so stupid. Here I am doing what I love as much as anything in this world for my spare time, and I've just had hunting success, and I'm on top of the world, so to speak, and yet I just feel like garbage, and I can't even start taking care of this animal right now because I can't even catch my breath." And so I had to sit there for probably 5 minutes to gather myself. And the terrain was steep enough, and he was actually on kind of an edge of a cliff, about a 20-foot cliff, caught on a tree. So it was, my father-in-law was down below. I was alone up there. We had decided that I would just drag that buck down. It was steep enough, and we would gut him down there where it was a little flatter, and he would wait for me. So, man, it probably took me, 25 minutes to get to him, and I should have been able to do it in 10. And so I told him there as we took care of that animal and broke it down that, this is the last season I'm going to ever be on this earth where I'm not in physical shape, that I can't do that in my sleep. And so that's where I made myself that promise and that commitment. And I made a New Year's resolution, January 1st, 2015, that I'm going to start running and get myself in shape. And that's exactly what I did. And I haven't looked back, and I don't ever want to go back.
Yeah, a lot of people can go, gee, I've been there, but a lot of people don't do what you do, and you stay committed to it. You just said, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to be in shape. And by your photos, like I said, you're bounding up those mountains. And folks, that's the thing, because we've all been there. But I just got my butt kicked, and no, if this this is not going to happen next year. Then next year it happens, and you didn't do what you needed to do for the previous 365 days. So you're in your same shape, and the older you get, the harder it is. There's absolutely no question. And yeah, there's some superstars out there, and you look at guys that are crushing it and doing the ultra marathons and great hunters and all that. But that's great for them, and I'm happy for them. But if we can just stay consistent, that's my thing. If I can, like the other day, I'm walking, fast, mile and a half, 2 miles, 3 miles, and consistently, to get my cardio up, because I've got enough strength. It's just I don't have the cardio for the mountains. And when you go elk hunting, it could be a 5 mile, just to get in, and 5 miles to get out. That's 10 miles. And, day after day, you can put 50 miles easy on a 5-day hunt, looking for elk.
Yeah, there's a phrase I love. I don't know who coined it, but it says the mountains never lie, or the mountains don't lie, and that is the truth, brother. So,
yeah, and they don't care.
No, they don't.
They flat the mountains. The mountains don't care. The mountains are there, and if you choose to saddle up and get in on them and get it going, the mountains will take the best shoe you've got, and they'll turn the worst shoe into mush. And unfortunately, that happens every year. people all piss and vinegar and hit the mountains, and within 2 or 3 days they're done. I mean, they're flat done. And and with some thinking and reading and talking to people, it didn't have to be that way. It really didn't. And it's a shame when that happens, but it happens every year. So, here it is, July 1st. Season openers is 19 August, so August 28th, I think, 29th, 30th, sometime in there, in Colorado. So we got 2 months, and I always put 100 miles on minimum, before the season, minimum at 6,800 feet. And then I'll take a couple of swings at the incline or some, some steep stuff, just to say this is what it's going to be. It's going to be hard. It's going to suck. You're not going to want to do it, but do it anyway, kind of thing. Yeah, that's my thought.
I think, yeah, you're, and there's times, and you hear the phrase too, embrace the suck. And a few years ago, I was that guy sitting on the sidelines or on the couch, so to speak, right? Point my finger and armchair quarterback and stuff. And I got to tell you, once you get to the sunny side of this stuff, you're just thinking, what in the world have I been doing? I spend hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars to get out and enjoy this time, and I'm not prepared. And so, that, like I said, 2015, I decided I'm going to start running. And so what I did, and I tell people all the time, just start by, running a little bit, just something, but you've got to do it consistently a few times a week, even if it's 1, 2, 3 miles, 2 or 3 times a week. Just do it consistently and get to where you're doing it 3 and 4 times a week. And now you're going 2 and 3 and 3 and 4 miles. And within what I did is I just set a goal for Easter and said, I'm going to run 250 miles by Easter. And I'm not going to run it all in 3 weeks at the end, right? I'm not going to procrastinate. I got to get started chipping away. And on New Year's Day, I started running. And my wife's a lifelong runner. She's been running, over 25 years, and I'll be 45 this year, so I'm not really a spring chicken anymore. But I feel like I'm 25, and it's because I started running. The day before Easter 2015, I hit 256 miles. So I exceeded that goal. And then I thought, okay, what am I going to do from here? And I did the math and I multiplied it out. And I thought, well, if I times it by 4, that's 1,000 miles. So that's my goal. I'm going to run 1,000 miles this year. And so I went from running 0 to 1,000 miles in the very first year. I ran 2 marathons during that time period. The first one I ran 5.5 months after I started, 6 months. And I had, so it is possible if you set a reasonable, achievable goal. And like you said, just it's going to suck. It's going to be difficult, but, get over it. Just make the decision and go for it. And that's what I did. Still going.
There's, a lot of good people out there, Jeremy Kruger, Fit the Hunt. Jeremy, he's helped me immeasurably, helped me tremendously get ready for my last sheep hunt. And, you see those guys and you go, how do they do it? And we're all built differently. We're all wired differently. But how does he do it? He just stays after day in, day out. Yeah, it's his job. So you think, it's his job. He does it. Okay, I'll challenge everybody who likes to get up every single day and go to their job. And God bless you people that have a job and you crush it every day at work. And, you're so alive being at your work. I work because I had a family and I like to do things. I worked, I didn't live to work. I worked to live, that's for sure. And that was a great motivator, because I knew where I wanted to do and how to go. But you think about that and you just think about what Mike just said, folks, is that he set a goal. I stated my goal is 100 miles, so you get 100 days. It's a mile a day. That's all it is. But if you do 100 miles, if you put 100 miles on your shoes, on your boots, throw a little 20-pound pack on, put your hydrator on, put all that stuff on and just walk 100 miles just like that. You're going to be amazed how much better you're going to be. Plus the consistency of it. The mountains won't break you. They'll allow you to just move through them at your pace.
Yeah, and the thing too is, your mental state, the mental strength that you gain by tuning your body physically is it's indescribable. Your body wants to move. It's built to move. It's not built to sit and rest all the time. It doesn't want to. Sometimes our minds tell us we do. If we don't have a good diet, we can fool that body, and our brain starts following that. And so, my dad always said mind over matter at such a young age. And so doing hard things was just something that we as Merrills did. So I was blessed to have a good example of motivation. But at the end of the day, you've got to want to do it. You got to do it for you. And just like I said with running, I love sports. I was in athletics, really into baseball. I mean, I had aspirations to go on to higher levels of baseball. And as I got older and I got married at, 21, 22 years old, I'm starting a family, and you've got to work and you got to pay bills. You realize pretty quick, you got to feed the family first. And baseball wasn't going to do that for me. So, I got into construction and learned how to work hard. And I've just taken that same approach into hunting, and it's led to not only hunting success, but I always tell people over 99% of my joy of being out in the woods and out in nature and hunting has nothing to do with releasing an arrow, pulling a trigger. I mean, that's just the very end few seconds of my journey before it comes time to break an animal down and pack it out. In my case, I love to take that game. I cut up all my own meat. I wrap it all, label it, do it just how I want, take care of it, keep it clean. And then when it's time to break out the grill or the Traeger smoker, I like to prepare that for my family. And so literally from field to table, I've participated in every part of that journey. And I got to tell you, there is no satisfaction you can have on this planet than physically going yourself and bringing that to your family and providing that for them and sharing your success with them and nourishing their bodies and enjoying that together around a dinner table as a family.
Well said, because hunting to me, it's a complete journey. It's a venture. And to travel the places I've been able to travel and meet the people I've met is all part of it. It once I pack up and head to the airport or head, east or west, north or south, that's when my journey begins. And, some of the memories I have are late at night and, in blizzard, sitting in tents, a gazillion miles from nowhere, and candlelight and, and just talking and having conversations and, that's what I hold true. Yes. Pulling the trigger, bringing the meat home is as important as all the rest, but that's the part that people, in my opinion, that don't understand hunting or have never hunted, they don't get the other part, the part of the journey and the part of interaction with other people of other cultures.
Yeah, the other, and I hunt birds, and I've hunted waterfowl and chuckers and doves and pheasants and and all kinds of other game, also bears, and I mean just about everything out there. I don't shoot anything I'm not going to eat. So that's one rule I've got for myself and have had for a long time, and I enjoy that part of it. But again, I try not to start anything that I'm not going to finish. And so, even, that first year I started running, I actually, it was December 15th, when I completed my goal of 1,000 miles that year. And my wife didn't even know this, but, I ran on a Tuesday. I started at about, I think it was 11 p.m. and I finished, it was almost 2 a.m. I ran 16 miles on my treadmill, and I stopped at 999.9 miles. I did all the math, and I stopped, and I thought, if I'm going to hit this goal, I'm going to crush it. I'm not going to just run 1,000 miles and go on my merry way, go skipping down, the yellow brick road. And so my wife said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I don't know. I got to think about it." And so I thought about it for the coming days. And December 15th, I believe it was Saturday. And I got up at about 6 in the morning, wasn't quite light yet. And I proceeded to plot out a path and ditch Gatorade in the bushes and granola bars in the weeds. And I put food and beverage along the path that I was going to run. And I ran a marathon to complete my goal. Now, I wasn't 10 steps into this marathon and I'd already hit my 1,000 miles, but I wanted to explode that goal and do it with gusto, and not just achieve it, but really kill that goal. And so I did. When I got done with that marathon, I still had fuel left in the tank. I felt pretty darn good for having run a marathon and hit my 1,000 miles. And I thought, this is awesome. And was in the best shape of my life. I'd lost a bunch of weight and was trim and fit. And man, when I tell you, when I got out in the elk woods and in the high mountains, I could just go and go and go. And I, that's been a few years now, and I'm still doing the same stuff. I've gotten a little smarter about it. Now what I do is I have my bow and my target in my truck. Got a quad cab Dodge or whatever, crew cab. I take that in there. I've got a pack usually with trail cameras or bait, buck jam and salt licks and trophy rock. And so sometimes I'll pack that on, and then I'll go running up a trail. It's about a 3.5 mile loop, about 1,000 feet of gain in the first mile on this trail that I run on. And I got 3 or 4 trail cameras along the way. And so I will get out and run that mountain, swap SD cards as I'm running past my cameras. And then when I get back and I'm huffing and puffing just a little bit, I pull that bow out and I'll sling a couple dozen arrows or more. And it seems counterintuitive, but you've seen these guys. Cameron Haynes is somebody I've followed for 5 or 6 years now, and I've just loved and learned a great deal about that mental toughness that I didn't have before. And so I've definitely used him as a pattern in some of the things that I'm doing. And I can't believe, even though it seemed stupid to me at first, why in the world would I shoot my bow when I'm tired? I'm going to wait. Oh, there's a breeze. Let me wait till the wind dies down. Then I'll shoot my bow. Well, you don't get to do that when you're hunting. I mean, when the breeze is there, that's when your shot's happening. When the rain's coming down, that's when you have your chance. So if it's raining, snowing, I actually get excited about those conditions now. I like to run in that stuff. I want to shoot when it's 103 degrees outside, and I've just run 3 or 4 miles in the mountains, because that is hunting conditions. That is as tough as it's going to get. And if I can overcome that and practice like that several times a week, all year round, and embrace that suck, so to speak, then when it comes time to hunting, another phrase I love is train hard, hunt easy. And, the hunting is sometimes a break from what I've been training for and some of the conditions I've put myself in. So then you can enjoy it like never before.
Let's talk about a couple of your hunts, but before we do that, let's talk about, I wish I knew that now. The one big thing that now that you wish you knew 5, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, what would that be in regards to hunting?
So I have, I know we talked a little bit before. You like to reload and do, I do reloading a little bit too. One thing I do now, I fletch my own arrows. I weigh stuff. I have learned to hone my craft, right? Hone my passion here on hunting to a degree where I'm controlling all the variables that I can. And if I can do that with confidence, and I'm as prepared as I could be physically, and I've worked my way through what my plan is mentally, when it comes time to execute, there is absolutely no hesitation. And so I would just say that quote unquote off-season preparation, the mental side of it, the physical side of it, your weapon, being familiar, shooting your bow or your gun on a regular basis. Don't just pull it out the weekend before the hunt. Or worse yet, I see guys that haven't even shot their weapon since last season. But make it something that you put into your regular routine, so that year round you are familiar with that every piece of that weapon and that process that you're going to embark upon. Because when the hunting season starts, those seasons are determined by the calendar and the clock. And so when it's go time, it doesn't matter if they're rutting hard or not at all, or it's sunny, or there's sleet and hail or rain. The hunting season, just like the mountains, it doesn't care. So be ready. And then when it comes time to execute, you won't have to think about it. You'll be able to just react and get the job done.
So what I hear you saying, be prepared, know your gear, practice, and be confident, that you don't have to think about. The muscle memory is already built in for your release on your arrow and everything. Your back muscles are strong. Everything needs to be there. So that isn't it. You don't have to think about it, because so many times people say, oh, I got to be this, I got to do that. And you're already, if you have to think when you have game in front of you, you're screwed, in my opinion. You missed the opportunity, because one step and that deer is gone. One blink and that elk is gone, the bear, whatever you're hunting. Because if you boil down, I should do this someday. If I boil down every single close encounter kill shot I've had, how many seconds that is. Yeah. That's over 52 years of hunting. How many seconds of actual, kill shots?
Yeah, and why in the world wouldn't you do everything you could do to make that the most you can? Because that's
an interesting thing. And you take a guy like Jim Shockey. Okay, he's got minutes. A guy like them might have hours, but most of us have literally seconds. Is it 120 seconds? Is it 332 seconds? I don't know. But it's the time you release that arrow, pull that trigger. It's literally seconds, and all those years of preparation, all that money really comes down to seconds. And so why not be the best you can be when that time comes?
Yeah, and you're in control of that destiny when you prepare. And they, practice doesn't make perfect. You've got to have perfect practice. So proper practice, get some coaching, take some video. I was amazed the first time I took video of me shooting my bow. Why am I doing that? Well, that looks funny. Get some coaching, tune your bow, get some help with your rifle. Make sure that you're talking to people that know a little bit more than you. Get on YouTube, do some research. If you do everything you can to make sure that you are 100% prepared for that go time, like you said, that muscle memory, not only will it happen, but it will happen without a second thought. I took an elk this last season with my bow at long distance, and I've got to be brutally honest. That 15, 20 seconds of pulling my bow up, releasing that arrow, and actually doing it again. I got 2 arrows in this elk within a few seconds of each other, and it wasn't a blur. I remembered all of it, but I didn't even give any of it a second thought. And, in 30 seconds, that elk was on the ground, and not long after had expired. And I just, it wasn't easy. None of it was easy, but I was amazed at how hard it wasn't for me to execute when it came time for that opportunity.
So, folks, we've been talking about a lot of different things here: physical condition, persistent, consistency, preparation. You mentioned something earlier. You set a goal, and talk to me about the visual actualization. When you see a basin and you need to get there because you just saw a nice 4x bed down, and it's going to be arduous, but you don't care. How do you see yourself there? With that shot.
Well, might sound silly to some people, but the first thing is, if I find a basin or a place where I want to get to, I'm going to go there beforehand. I'm going to figure out the right path. I'm going to look and see where I can safely and quickly, efficiently get to a location. I'm going to know where my, with my bow, I'm going to know my yardages from this bush, from that rock, from this knoll or point. I'm going to have all that figured out as much as I can, so that when that opportunity presents itself, I don't have to spend a whole lot of time second guessing myself. And, and in my case, I love hunting with buddies and my brothers and other people, but I do get a great deal of satisfaction sometimes when I'm just all by myself and there's nobody to discuss or have differing opinions with or arguments. I can just go get it done and not have to worry about whatever someone else is thinking. So
that's hunting by yourself. Now, how do you again visualize yourself, getting that shot, going through all the arduous effort to get there? Do you do that? Maybe the right question is, do you visualize yourself taking that shot?
So I do. I have a routine. When I'm shooting my bow or my rifle, I do have a routine. How I'm breathing. I try and breathe in and hold when I get ready to shoot, and so I practice that. I practice that, with my rifle too. The target range. Practice those things that are, realistic. When I'm sighting my rifle in or when I'm shooting my bow. I like talking to people. I like having distractions going on around me while I'm executing, because then the magpie flying in my view or whatever it is that's going on is not going to take me away from what I'm focused on. But I definitely visualize the entire sequence, and I think familiarity with the process. I think that muscle memory. I think envisioning what you're going to do is critical. It's just like setting a goal. You got to write it down. There's steps to get to it. They're achievable. So I'm going to hike up to this point. I'm going to move over by this tree. And if the deer, the elk, or whatever you're chasing doesn't move, or if it's bedded, or you just play these scenarios out in your mind beforehand, so that you've kind of already narrowed down your options and your choices, and you can choose to move quickly when the conditions change, when something isn't what you expected. And, this elk hunt I was talking about, there's a few different scenarios that happened during that hunt where exactly the unexpected happened. And yet I'd already envisioned what I was going to do, and it worked out perfectly in that case. So I was really glad that I played that out in my mind first.
How do people get a hold of you if they want to follow up? How do they reach out to you?
So my Instagram is just at Michael T. Merrill. The Twitter's the same. Facebook's at Michael T. Merrill. I think it's /7 or something like that. But so just social media mainly. Emails michaeltmerrill@gmail.com. All pretty much the same handle.
No, are you on any pro staff?
Not officially, really. Haven't really aligned myself with anything too specifically. I mean, I like certain equipment, and I use those things religiously, and I love supporting them. But I do other stuff professionally, so haven't really done anything officially that way.
So tell us about your gear that you like.
So I love my Hoyt Carbon Defiant bow. I'm trying some new broadheads right now. Trying the Valkyrie Jagger broadheads. Those are new for me this year. Just kind of working on some stuff there. As far as rifles, I shoot Rugers. I've got several different calibers, and I have a Benelli shotgun. I do like to invest. I've got Leica and Swarovski optics and some Vortex scopes and different things. So I do try and invest in those things so that I have the best gear and equipment that I can. I love the Under Armour mountain gear. I also have a lot of Sitka, and those things, they're all very high quality. They're not cheap, so you've got to spend a little bit of money, but I'm not buying new gear every year. I'll tell you that. A lot of it I've had for 5, 10, 15 years, and it just keeps on trucking like I do.
Yeah, that pardon me. Good gear is critical. And one thing, when I first was starting out this journey, the people that I knew, were down the road with, they said, Bruce, yeah, you can buy X, Y, and Z, but you want the best optics you can get. So they said that's the number one thing. And, first is your optics, your binoculars, your spotting scope. Get the best you can afford. And whatever that is, that's what it is. And then from there, your rifle scope. And then, because a lot of rifles shoot really well. I shoot Rugers and Remingtons. They've shot well for me. I get them tinkered, and I take them to a gunsmith and do, some sexy things to them, and so I get them as custom as I can without paying a custom price, and all the rest just comes. I mean, in trial and error, you buy a pair of pants and they last one hunting season. You throw them away because you just blew $50-$60. So then you go buy some other stuff that costs 200, but they last 5 or 10 years. I've got King of the Mountain, my wool elk hunting clothes for cold weather, and I I don't know how old they are, and they're as good as the day I bought them. They just are, and it costs a lot of money, but and I do the same thing with my fishing gear and the hunting gear. So that's one thing I would throw in the mix is just get the best you can and save up. You know, get on eBay. Find the brand and get on eBay. And there's a lot of ways you can get good equipment for less than box store prices.
Yeah, you're those are investments that you're making, and I've been blessed to know that for a while. Again, my father-in-law, I remember, back in the 90s, he had Swarovski binoculars before I didn't know anybody who even knew what they were. He's been running Zeiss for 35, 40 years, and so I learned from him. Leupold, great gear, great warranties. So I, even at a young age in my early 20s, I started investing in those things. I bought some Danner boots, and since then I've got Crispy boots, I've got Kentrek, I've got Zamberlan, I've got some Under Armour fat tire boots that I absolutely love for trail running. I feel like I'm running on marshmallows. They were a couple $100, but they've lasted me for years, and my feet are dry. They don't get blisters. I hunt and hike hard. And, in most cases, if you're on a sheep hunt or something pretty rough, your feet are going to take a beating no matter what you have on, probably, eventually. But you're going to help yourself out a lot. You're going to be able to hunt harder and hunt longer if you have proper gear. And so that is one place that I will not cut a corner, for any reason whatsoever, all the way from broadheads to arrows to boots.
Yeah, and I'll give Russell moccasins. I got introduced to them years and years ago, and I probably got 3 pairs. And they're not cheap, but they're handmade to my feet. And I've been to their store in Wisconsin and their factory in Wisconsin. And, every single pair of those boots are as good as they were the day I bought them, or you just send them back and they rebuild them.
Right.
And it's just, and that's the investment. Yeah, that they were an investment, but they're good for the lifetime. They're good for my lifetime.
It's like everything else. Just any variable you can control, any variable you can take out of the equation, and my boots are going to be good. My Gore-Tex jacket's not going to leak. My pants are not going to tear. They're going to hold up. My feet are going to be good. My rifle's going to shoot straight. My scope's going to be on. Whatever it is, my broadheads are going to stay sharp. Like you said, you're investing in those just minute seconds, microseconds sometimes, where it's go time. You've got to make it happen, and you need everything to be in the best possible situation and shape it can be in. And investing and planning ahead by buying proper gear is that's almost as important as making sure you're in shape and that your equipment is accurate. So.
And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of Whitetail Rendezvous with Mike Merrill from Salem, Utah. Mike, it's just been a pleasure to have you on this morning. And, I think of the Wasatch Range, and I used to run the Wasatch Range back when I was working, and I had some great trails. They put their hurt on me, but they were great trails to run. That's when I was running. That's when I was running trails up and down. I'd never challenge, Cameron Hayes, but, in my own way, I did it pretty good. So saying that, you just have a great 4th of July, sir, and on behalf of hundreds of thousands of listeners of Whitetail Rendezvous, thank you for being guest on our show today.
Thank you, Bruce. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Hey, folks, we got a new sponsor. It's called Buckwild Coffee. What's so special about Buckwild Coffee? Well, a gazillion people go to Starbucks every day and drink coffee. Well, why shouldn't Buckwild Coffee offer you light, medium, or dark roast with free shipping? All you have to do is go to whitetailrendezvous.com, go to shop, and order your coffee, and I'll ship it out for free. I'm pleased to have as a guest today Jen O'Hara. Jen and her running mate Narissa started Girls with Guns Clothing, and in Northern California. And if you know anything about hunting in California, it's hard. But they decided to come out with some T-shirts and hoodies and other um, fashion statements for ladies. And all of a sudden, the companies start taking off, and they're heading in a lot of great directions. But the biggest thing that I took away from Jen's interview on Whitetail Rendezvous was simply that she's taken 8 kids over to South Africa for 3 Plains games each next time around. Next, let's see, our fall, their winter. So, having said that, uh, they raised the money through their little community up in Red Bluff, and she's doing one heck of a job, not promoting just her brand, Girls with Guns clothing, but with promoting hunting and being a mentor to thousands of women. So hats off to you, Jen O'Hara, with Girls with Guns clothing.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.